Unit 8, Moons and Planets in Orbit. First, the solar system. Our solar system is a part of a galaxy, spiral galaxy. It's called the Milky Way galaxy. So, the galaxy to that we belong to is called the Milky Way galaxy. This galaxy contains millions of stars. One of them is our star, which is the sun. There are millions of other galaxies, and each galaxy has millions of stars like our star, the sun. All of these galaxies make up the universe. The stars are a very long way apart, so scientists measure these distances between the stars or in the universe in a unit. It's called the light year. So our solar system contains the sun and the other planets, and every part in this solar system belongs to huge thing called Milky Way galaxy. There is millions of other galaxies in this universe. The galaxy, it's a group of millions of stars like our sun, okay, and they are the building unit of the universe. The distances between the stars is so far away, so we use a unit to measure this distance. It's called the light year. The light year, it's not a measuring unit for the time, it's a measuring unit for the distance. Like, why should we use or why must we use the light year to measure the distances in the space or between the stars and between the other galaxies? Because the kilometer is a very small unit comparing with the huge um, distances in the space. Like, for example, if you want to measure the distance between London and Cairo, it's not suitable if you used the centimeter or millimeter. We should use the kilometers. But in the space, kilometers, it's a very small unit to measure the distances in the space. So instead of that, we should use another measuring unit for the distance. It's called the light year. Type. What the meaning of the light year? Light year, it's a distance. It's a distance. It's not a measuring unit for the time. One light year, it's the distance that traveled by the light in 1 year. It means how many kilometers the light travels in 1 year. If we look here at the whiteboard, the light can travel a distance equal 300,000 kilometer per 1 second. So in 1 second, light can travels this distance. So this is a distance that that's covered by the light in 1 second. To know the distance that covered by the light in 1 year, we should multiply this number in 60 to know the distance that is covered by the light in 1 minute. So multiply the result in also 60 to know the distance that is covered by the light in 1 hour. And also multiply this number in 24 to know the distance that is covered by the light in 1 day. And multiply this number in, um, for example, 30 to know the distance that is covered by the light in 1 month. And finally, multiply the this number in 12 to know the distance that is covered by the light in 1 year. So the light years, if you try to do this by using the calculator, you will find a very, very huge number. It's suitable for measuring the distances in the space. By the way, the distance between the average distance between the moon and the earth equal 300,000 kilometer 300,000 kilometers between the moon and the earth, the average distance between the moon and the earth. And the light takes about just about 1 second, okay, from the moon to the earth. So the light can cover this distance in 1 second. The distance between the earth and the sun, light takes this distance in approximately 8 minutes. We depend on the speed of the light to measure the distance in the space because the light is the fastest thing in the world. The speed of the light is the fastest speed in the universe. Okay, so we depend on the light year to measure the distances between the galaxies and the stars. The nearest star to us, the distance between uh, our solar system or our planet and the nearest star to us is equal, approximately equal 4.22 light years. That is mean the light from the nearest star after the sun, the second nearest star to us after the sun, the light from this star reaches to us after 4.22 light after 4.22 years. So the light from this star takes 4.22 years to reach to the Earth, which is the huge distance. It would take a rocket from the Earth over 1,200 years to reach to this star. If we want to reach to this star, if we have a rocket, of course, the rocket will not match them by any way. It will not reach. It will not reach by any way the speed of the light. It will take about 1,200 years to reach to this star, the second closest star to us. Of course, the closest star to us, of course, the sun. By the way, the farthest distance that human reached, of course, to the moon. We landing on the moon. The human reached to the moon in 1969 by um, astronaut called Neil Armstrong in a journey called Apollo 11. This is the shape of our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. The sun, one of these stars. Sun is located here in one of the arms of these stars. This is the Milky Way galaxy. Of course, it's a spiral galaxy. The sun is located here at one of these arms. Solar system. Let's talk about our solar system. Solar system, our solar system consists of first a star. In our solar system, this star is called the sun. The sun seems bigger to us than the other stars because the sun is nearer to us than the other stars. The other stars appears like a small dots in the sky and they cannot be seen in the day. Some of them in real size, some of them very large, larger than the sun, some of them smaller than the sun, but they appear small because they very far away to us, and the sun is the nearer star to us. Um, Also, we have 8 planets in our solar system. Of course, you know them: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And the other celestial bodies called dwarf planets like Ceres, Pluto, and Eris. Okay. By the way, Pluto was considered as a planet, but now we classify Pluto as a dwarf planet. Dwarf planet, it means a very small planet. The second, satellites or moons, the natural satellite or the moons. Um, the sun is the star at the center of our solar system. It's the biggest body in the solar system, and there is 8 planets orbits. There is 8 planets orbit the sun or revolve around the sun, and moons, they are followers of the planets. So planets revolve. The planet revolves around the star, and the moon revolves around the planet. Our planet, the Earth, there is just one moon for our planet, which is named or it's called Luna. And the other planets, some other planets have more than one moon, like Mars. Mars has 2 moons. Their name is, by the way, Phobos and Deimos. Other planets like Jupiter has about 67 moons. Saturn has maybe between I think 62 moons, and so on. And other planets, they don't have any moons or revolve any followers revolve around them, like Mercury and Venus. Mercury and Venus, they don't have any moons. Another types of celestial bodies in our solar system called the comets, mostly balls made of dust and ice. They are orbiting far from the sun. Once they reach to the sun, the ice melts and forms a comet's tail, like this one. This is a comet. When this comet get closer to the sun, the ice that forms its body melts and form this tail. Another thing called asteroids. Asteroids, small rocks and orbit the sun. Small rocks that orbit the sun. Most of them uh, located between the planet Mars and Jupiter. This is Mars and this is Jupiter, and this is called the asteroid belts. The asteroids belts. Um, let's take a look about our solar system. Of course, we said solar system consists of the sun, 8 planets: Mercury, the closest planet, Venus, then the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And this belt or these rocks form the asteroid belts, and this is a comet like this one. The planets, they are 8 dark bodies that revolve around the sun in fixed orbit or fixed paths. They orbit the sun in elliptical orbits. What's the meaning of elliptical orbits? Let's take a look in the white screen. This is the sun. The first planet, Mercury. The second planet, Venus. And this is the third planet, for example, the Earth. Okay. Elliptical orbit, it means not circle orbit, not a circle. The orbits of the planet in a form of, or takes the shape of elliptical shape, like this one, not circle shape. Okay. By the way, when the planet goes farther from the sun or from the star, its orbit becomes longer. So the orbit of Mercury smaller than the orbit of Venus, and the orbit of Venus is smaller than the Earth, and the Mars longer than the Earth, and so on. By the way, Earth takes 1 year to complete one orbit around the sun. Venus takes less than 1 year because its orbit smaller than the sun. Mercury takes less time than Venus and Earth to orbit the sun because its orbit smaller than them. And of course, Mars has larger orbit and takes longer time to orbit the sun, and so on. These planets are divided into two groups. The first four planets, we call them the inner planet. It means the closer planet to the sun. They are rocky planets and they have a small size comparing with the the outer planets. So we have two groups, the inner planets. They are rocky planets and they are smaller in size than the outer planet. The second group, called the outer planets, they have the large size, the bigger size. If you look carefully here, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, any one of them is bigger than the other planets. We call them the giant gases because their bodies made up of gases. There is no solid ground to land or to stand on them. Let's say their names again: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Let's go and talk about some characteristics of these planets. Let's start with Mercury. Mercury is characterized by, of course, first, it's the nearest planet to the sun, so it's the first planet. It has the smallest orbit, so it takes the least time or the shortest time to orbit the sun once. Venus, the second planet, it is the hottest planet in the solar system. Mr. Venus, hottest planet, but it's not Mercury. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, but it's not the hottest planet. It's the second hottest planet in the solar system. But Venus, it's the hottest planet, although it's the second planet. Why? Because Venus is covered by a thicker atmospheric layer. So it and absorbs and stores the heat energy from the sun. So its temperature is larger than Mercury. So Venus, it's the hottest planet. Earth, the planet that where we live, contains all forms of life. We didn't discover another um, form of life in any place except the Earth. Even the bacteria or fungi or another micro living organisms, we didn't discover uh, uh, um, any form of life in any place except the Earth. We don't know if there is another kind of living in any place instead of the Earth or not. We didn't discover that yet. The fourth planet is Mars. Mars is called the red planet. Then Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet. And by the way, Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system and the second biggest body in the solar system. The biggest planet and the second biggest body in the solar system. The first biggest body, of course, the sun. Sun is so huge, so large, larger than the other planets together. If you gathering them together, they will not match even 1/1000 from the sun, the size of the sun. The second biggest thing in the solar system, this planet Jupiter, and Jupiter also the biggest planet in the solar system. Saturn, Saturn characterized by having a colored ring around it. This is Saturn. Saturn has a beautiful rings like this, rotates around it, consists of dust and rocks and ice. Then Uranus. Uranus is the coldest planet in the solar system, and Neptune, we call it the blue planet. So we have Mars, the red planet, and Neptune, the blue planet. Let's talk about the gravity and the orbits. The gravity of the Earth attracts us toward or holds us on the surface of the Earth. And the gravity of the Earth makes the moon rotate around the Earth. Also, the gravity of the sun makes all bodies, all different bodies, all these bodies in the solar system revolve around the sun. So, the gravity of the sun keeps the planets and the other body in the solar system revolve around the sun in elliptical orbits. The orbits of the planets in the solar system are almost circular. Almost circular, it means elliptical. It means not typical circular. The orbits of the planets is not a circle, but they are in a form of almost circular. It means elliptical orbits with the sun near the center of the sun's gravity keeps the planets and dwarf planets, comets, and asteroids in orbit or uh, in revolution around the sun. The gravity of the planets keeps its satellites in their orbits. The gravity of the Earth keeps the moon revolves around the Earth, and so on for the other planets. Everything is rotating in the space. Okay. We have another word, rotate and spin. Let's go to the whiteboard. I want to explain the differences between these words. We have two words. The first one, spin or rotate. They have the same meaning. They have the same meaning. And the other word, called orbit or revolve. Spin when something goes around itself. When something goes around itself. The same meaning for rotate. Rotate like spin when something goes around itself. But orbit when something goes around another object. For example, Earth goes around the sun or orbits the sun or revolves around the sun. But Earth spins around its axis or rotates around its axis. When the Earth rotates around itself or goes around itself, I will say spin. I will use the verbs spin or rotate. When the Earth moves around the sun or goes around the sun, or goes around, or anything goes around another object, we should use these words, orbit or revolve. Um, Orbit comes as a verb or a noun. The noun also orbit. Revolve, verb, the noun is revolution. Rotate, the noun is rotation. Spin, also the noun is spin. Okay, let's go to the study notes. So everything in the space, if everything is rotating in the space, also our planet, the Earth, rotates around itself. And this is called the day and night. Um, the Earth spins or rotates around its axis once every 24 hours or 1 day. The moon, this word should be revolve, not rotate. The moon revolve or orbits the Earth every 28 days. That makes the lunar month, like the Islamic calendar, uh, like Rajab, Shaban, and Ramadan, and so on. Okay, the moon orbits the Earth anti-clockwise. What's the meaning of anti-clockwise? Let's take a look in the board, in the whiteboard. For example, this is the Earth, and this is the moon. Of course, sun is larger than the Earth, and the Earth is larger than the moon. Anti-clockwise, it means it moves not like the watch. In the clock, or in the watch, it moves by this way. Okay, after مثلا 1 hour, these pointers are moved by this way. Anti-clockwise, it means the moon moves in the opposite direction by this way. This is the meaning of anti-clockwise. Also, the Earth revolve, not rotates. Rotates is not a suitable word, of course. Revolves or orbits the sun in 360 days and quarters to complete one orbit around the sun. The Earth orbits also anti-clockwise like the moon. This orbit makes 1 year, or the Earth takes 1 year to complete one orbit around the sun. So we have the Earth has two movements. The first movement spins or rotates around its axis or itself. It takes 24 hours or 1 day. Also, the Earth has another movement, which is the revolution around the sun or the orbit around the sun. This takes 365 days and a quarter, or 1 year. The moon has another movement about the moon. The moon takes 28 days to complete one orbit or to make one revolution around the Earth. Um, 28 days or one lunar month. Let's talk about the day and night.